Hi everyone, it's Nicole and welcome to my channel. Today I am doing my last project in my project tray series. I will leave the playlist for that series up at the eye. That way you can take a look back at my very first video, follow it the whole way through here, and I will be posting one more this week as a wrap up to kind of go over what I have left, what I made with what was left, and I officially, you guys, kill this kit. I love this kit. It was amazing. I've made, I want to say it was 10 projects out of it, but I love it. But anyways, on to today's layout. I am trying to use up pieces that obviously I do have left over. I loved these black florals, and then the reverse side of this was that piece there with the orange and red stripes on it, and they match my son's hockey uniform perfectly. So I did some tearing, and I'll do even a little bit more tearing here too. I am going to do some mixed media on my page today with my paper selection dwindling down. Mixed media in watercolors is a great way to fill in those empty gaps where you might be able to use paper but you don't have it. But anyways, it helps make it complete. So I am eventually going to add in a scrap piece of paper there at the bottom of the layout. It is not going to be that triangle one, but I do kind of just eyeball it to get an idea of what I want to do so that I can get this mixed media done and down. I slide, once I know where my layers are going, I move them a little bit out of the way to make a line so that I know where I want to put my gesso, so that it has, my mixed media has that ground and will move with the water. Gesso is absolutely needed when you're using this technique. Once it dries completely, it allows for watercolor to move around on your page. If you try to do watercoloring of any kind with mists or pans or whatnot, and you do not have it gessoed, your paper is going to absorb it. It's not going to move around, and you might end up getting frustrated. So if you've tried mixed media but you haven't used gesso, give gesso a try. It's worth a couple dollar investment because it actually works. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside to dry. When I do that, I am going to go ahead and layer up my photos. I have this orange piece of cardstock left over from the kit. This was the distressed envelopes. I want to say they're 49th and Market, but don't quote me on that. I do have a link down below to the kit, and it has it broken down in there, but I can't for the life of me off the top of my head remember if they are 49th and Market or not. But I love them. They're perfect. They are heavy duty. They are sturdy. So I'm using up those bits as backings on my photos to give them some good strength. So now that my paper is dry, the gesso is dry, I'm going to go ahead and use my shimmers, and I'm going to create a quick mixed media background. I am using a yellow, which I believe is Little Yellow School Bus, a shoot, I put those away already too, don't have them out, like a salmon color. And then I spray it and load it down with a lot of water so that it does this. And this is what gesso allows this to do. Otherwise, it would soak right into your paper and you wouldn't get anything. So I try to keep it real fluid and add that water in to keep it moving. And then I do end up going in and adding some more yellow down on the bottom right because it was not pulling in the color as much. I use my finger a lot to move color around to get it going to places where I want it to go, or like there it was going too much, so I pushed it back onto the page. There really is no like rhyme or reason to any of this. It's just, honestly, it's just practicing it, putting the color down, spraying it with water, moving your paper around so that the color shifts where you want it to go, and then let it sit. It's going to move some more after you let it sit. It's going to create puddles like this one is creating on the edges of the paper and right in the center, because the paper is still going to warp a bit. And wherever that indentation is, that's where your color is going to lay. I use paper towel, I use my finger, I let it dry, I'll go back in and add splatters. Sometimes after it dries, I add in another layer. But know that if you do add another layer in, if you get too heavy with the water, it will reactivate that first layer. In the end, this is what it looks like. The color does mute back, and it does dull down once it dries. So I wanted to bring in that yellow and orange and red again to the bottom, because I really didn't layer that bottom with that color all that much. So I tore that down, and I'm going to use this red stripe from the same paper down towards the bottom. And you guys, I really pieced this together, but it worked. And it was so funny putting this together, because I'm like, how the heck am I going to get this to work? But I got it. That top piece, there is actually a hole in the middle where there is no pattern paper at all. But honestly, it doesn't matter one bit, because that's where my photos are going. So my photos are going to cover that anyways. So it doesn't matter that that hole is there. So I just made it work. When I did glue this at the bottom, I lined it up so that the green did not go on my paper when I glued it down. So the only thing that is going to show on that bottom little bit is that stripe of red. And then I am using liquid glue to glue everything down. When you use mixed media, any form of mixed media, I highly recommend liquid adhesive. It tends to be the only thing that sticks over time. If you use double-sided tape, it tends to, if it even does stick, it tends to lift very easily over time. So I'm going in, doing some glue, cutting off the ends. These strips of black and white papers with those flowers, I keep, and I hoard those to the very last project that I do with this, because they fussy cut and look super cute whenever you fussy cut them. And I even do fussy cut a couple of them for this spread. So once my glue dried, and I do that so that it doesn't gum up my needle, I run it through my sewing machine across the bottom of each layer. So across the bottom of the black and white florals, across the bottom of that orange stripe, and then across the top piece of that red stripe at the bottom that I was just working on there. I like doing this. It adds texture, it adds that other layer of dimension, it adds a point of interest, and it also gives me a place where I can do this. And I love doing this, and that is fluffing up the edges to give it even more texture and dimension. Y'all, I am all about texture, dimension, layers, 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 and mixed media. Like, that's all my layouts tend to be. I am not a simple scrapper whatsoever. I love making things complicated. So anyways, I'm gonna go through, you guys, this giant roll of foam adhesive is life. It is available in the Clique shop, and it is an Ulta double-sided foam adhesive, and it's amazing. So I am going to layer up these photos and put them in the center of that cluster, and then I have some embellishments and ephemera left over that are up above at the top of my screen there, and I am just going to randomly pull these in. I do keep a lot of them. I do a lot of color blocking. I use a lot of orange and darker orange and red elements in this. I do have some pieces with some teal blue, and that's because I added that yellow floral cluster there up between the middle and the right photo, and it has some blue stems on it, so I did add some pieces with blue in it. But I pop up everything on foam, and I even do a double layer on that palm branch that I'm working on there. I love everything popping off my page, especially whenever you get a really busy pattern like that black and white one and you try to layer your embellishments over top of it. Sometimes it is too busy, but putting that extra oomph of foam adhesive behind it gives it the gap that it needs to create that different plane, so to speak. So I am using pretty much everything that I can, all of the green on here. I will use all of those palm branches. I do use those, there's a couple leaves that I tear off of the branches of the red flower on the right, and then also the one on the left. I tear them off because they're hidden behind, but then I end up gluing them and using them back in my piece, because there again, it adds, that extra little element, and I don't want to waste anything at this point. I am trying to, yeah, see there, I tore that little piece off, but I'll actually end up using that. I'm trying to use everything in this kit. So again, I'm going to glue those pieces down into place, and then I'm going to go back in and add this floral and a little leaf cluster, popping some up on foam and gluing others just directly on the spread. But if I do just glue it and I don't use foam adhesive, once the glue is dry, I will go back in and I will bend up the end pieces so that it still pops off the page. So going down to the bottom, I am going to use this large word sunshine from the kit. That is one of Paige's papers that were included in it. I fussy cut it out, used that as part of my title. There was a Hello Sunshine written in black script that was a part of Vicky's kit, but I really like the contrast of the black hello and then the yellow sunshine, on how the sunshine matched the background, but the black hello stood out. So I really liked that, the difference in that color there. So I do go through and I glue directly to my mixed media background that large word sunshine. I do that because the hello I want to pop up on foam dots, and I'm not gonna lie, I really contemplated putting sunshine all up on foam, and then I talked myself out of it. That would have been a lot of foam and a lot of time. So what I did in lieu of that, like you just saw there, where I glued the sunshine down, I still went around the edges of it and bent those edges up to help it pop off the page, and I really like how that turned out. So I went ahead then and put the hello right above the U in the end. I love how it offset that. And then also to help bring another third area and another cluster of the black and white down to that bottom, I am going to create a very small cluster of the black and white florals from a scrap piece that was left over from that top page. One of the flowers I do just glue directly to the bottom, which is this piece here, and then however the other smaller one that is by it, I will pop it up on foam, again just to give it that pop of dimension. And then I add one more teeny tiny one right beside it, and I do believe I just glue this one straight down. Yep, just glue that one straight down to that bottom. So that'll complete that little cluster. These I'm trying to use up. They haven't been too hard to use, but they've been harder than what I thought they were going to be. I love them though because they're dimensional stickers, so I just pop them in. I added the one to the left and one to the right. I tucked it behind some of the clustered embellishments that were already there from the ephemera, and bent the layers up. I do apologize, the top of my page kind of got out of my way here, but I did find a few other pieces of ephemera that I wanted to include because I felt the underneath of those photos were very empty and that they really weren't grounded. So I do add this red tag. This is not a kit item. This was from my stash. I do have a tray there up at the top right that I did pull in a few embellishments, which this was included, plus some enamel dots from my stash, because I'm trying to use up a lot of things that I have now with my kits and to help extend my kits a little bit. So I do pull that, and then I also add this small cluster of flowers underneath the large center photo, and that helps really ground this whole top section. It makes it very busy, but it grounds it, and in the end I like how that this really turns out. But that piece is from the kit. So I'm going to go through and I am going to cut out a bunch more of these black and white florals. I do want to add them in a few other places around my spread. I don't think that I leave all of this fussy cutting in. It's been a while since I've made this video that I kind of forgot. Ah, good. Okay, there we go. So I do cut out a lot of the black and white florals, and this is where you can't 100% see what I'm doing because I was off camera, but underneath my left hand there you can see one of the black and white flowers, and then I do add another one between the center and right photo up by my son's head, and then I do add another small one down by that word hello. After this, because it's so busy, I really don't do too much more with it. I am going to come in and I did forget to glue that piece of ephemera down, so I am going to go back in and do that one eventually. But I do add some enamel dots to it. All of these enamel dots are from my stash. They were not included in this kit. But this is an excellent way to use up all of these random enamel dots and embellishments also. I have so many enamel dot sheets that are like 75% used, and then they just sit there. So I've been trying to use up all of these, and I do a lot of enamel dot clusters on this page because, like I said, I am really trying to get these used, especially the yellow ones. They are quite old, and so are some of the others. But anyways, you guys, that is it. That is all that I do for this layout. I hope you've been inspired. I hope you've enjoyed this series. Stay tuned for a wrap-up video that I'll be posting later on this week. I do tend to do another project tray series, number 2, but it is going to be with a fall kit. I don't have it picked out yet, but stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you are not subscribed, I invite you to please hit that subscribe button and click the bell so that you're notified every time I upload a video. Bye.